Mesdames et Messieurs les directeurs et représentants du secteur privé et public, les représentants de la société civile, chers invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. Depuis la nuit des temps, l'homme a toujours pensé qu'il devait œuvrer pour plus grand que lui, qu'il devait avoir un sens à sa vie. Et cette recherche de sens, a fait état de nombreuses recherches philosophiques, littéraires ou encore académiques. Que ce soit Maslow avec sa pyramide arrivant à la réalisation du soi, que ce soit Herzberg avec ses mythes d'Adam et d'Abraham. Abraham, celui qui est choisi, l'élu, c'est celui qui fait parce qu'il accomplit sa destinée. Que ce soit plus proche de nous, Campbell, Young, qui travaille sur pourquoi l'homme fait quelque chose, pourquoi il devrait venir travailler, pourquoi il devrait agir, vivre, tout simplement. Tout cela, et encore plus, ont montré une chose qui est ressortie, en disant que si l'homme veut réussir, l'homme a besoin de travailler pour un idéal supérieur. Il doit travailler toujours pour ce qui est plus grand que lui. Et ce sont ceux qui œuvrent pour un idéal supérieur qui font la différence et qui laissent leur empreinte pour une humanité meilleure. Nous sommes présents ici et aujourd'hui pour reconnaître ceux qui peuvent œuvrer et qui œuvrent pour plus grand qu'eux. Et en particulier l'un d'eux qui est parmi nous aujourd'hui, vous savez de qui je parle, Sir Anerood Jugnauth. Au nom du comité organisateur de cet événement, je suis très heureux de vous accueillir tous. Ici, vous avez eu le programme, nous allons essayer de nous y tenir. Si jamais nous dérapons, n'hésitez pas à nous le faire savoir. C'est Montesquieu qui disait « Un grand homme ne se reconnaît pas quand il est au-dessus des autres. Un grand homme, c'est celui qui est avec les autres. » Aujourd'hui, si nous sommes là, c'est parce qu'il y a un homme. Peut-être pas grand par la taille, mais il est grand dans tout ce qu'on peut supposer être grand. C'est quelqu'un que j'ai connu, on a grandi ensemble. On a été à l'école, au pré-primaire. On a suivi deux destins différents. Lorsque moi j'ai été faire mes études, lui il est devenu entrepreneur. Il est aujourd'hui un coach professionnel. C'est quelqu'un qui accompagne les leaders de ce monde dans la communication, dans la performance, dans le leadership. Il est très humble et il ne veut pas que j'en parle de trop. Mais je peux vous assurer, sans lui, cet événement n'aurait eu lieu. Tous ceux qui ont travaillé dans ce comité organisateur ont réalisé les qualités de leadership qu'il nous a présentées. C'est quelqu'un qu'on a envie de suivre. C'est quelqu'un qu'on a envie d'écouter. Il est le convener de cet événement. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous demande d'accueillir mon meilleur ami, Sanjeev Maloo.
Lady Sarojini, the author Mr. Maloo, my respected friend Praveen Jugnauth, Madam Speaker from the Assembly, dear leaders from government, the diplomatic corps, the private sector, public society, and last but not the least, friends and fans of Sir Anerood. I was 11 when I first met Sir Anerood and Lady Sarojini. And 40 years after, I can say I belong to a generation of Mauritians, thousands of them, who have prospered, who have grown and who have progressed in the years of Sir Anerood. And I mean to say in the early 80s when he took power. We have done this based on the values of hard work, discipline, sacrifice, honesty, and self-reliance. These are the values that are embodied and endorsed by Sir Anerood till today. I'd like to bring you very quickly 70 years ago, in the times of the Mahatma. The setting happens in Delhi. It's an afternoon pretty much like this one. The train is slowly moving into the station. And Gandhiji has his elbow outside the window, and a journalist from the West comes up to him and he shouts out loud, "Gandhiji, Gandhiji, what is your message?" But little was he to know that on Thursdays, Gandhiji kept his vow of silence, so he could not answer him. So Gandhiji quickly scribbled something on a piece of paper, and almost in all the hustle and bustle of the crowd, he tossed it to him. He caught that note and opened it up, and it read, "My life is my message." Now, I have had the rare opportunity of reading the book that will be launched this afternoon, later today. And I'd like to share with you what I have learned, what I have drawn from the book. And these are 6 leadership lessons which I'd like to share with you this afternoon as a takeaway. Number 1 is to show up. If a leader doesn't show up, nothing really happens. A leader chooses to show up when he wants to make a positive difference by his presence. You take the case of Barack Obama. In 2004, he was a fairly obscure senator from Illinois, but he showed up for the Democratic Convention, and the rest is history. It was that speech, that keynote speech, that made him president. Similarly, in 1963, our Sir Anerood showed up for elections, and he had to contend against Anup Bijadar, who was a giant in those days, representing the Labour Party. Against all odds, he won elections, and the rest is history. Speak up. Leaders use the power of voice. They name the problem. They set the agenda. In 1965, for the Constitutional Conference in London at Lancaster House, Sir Anerood was with all the members of IFB together with his leader, Sukhdev Bisinduyal. And I think you all know that the political rivalry that was there between Sukhdev Bisinduyal and SSR in those days. Bisinduyal wanted to vote against independence because SSR was for independence. But young Anerood in those days, he stood up. He knew he had to speak up. And I'll tell it to you in Creole, you'll find it in the book, in his very own style. He told Sukhdev Bisinduyal, "Si ou pas pour vote pour l'indépendance, nous pouvons un coup de savate quand nous rentrons dans nos filières et aussi là-dedans." This is Sir Anerood. We all know him. That's a little bit his time. Look up. If you don't look up for higher vision, higher values, you will find that leadership is hollow. When Sir Anerood leads, he is constantly reminding us of the higher values, of the reasons what we stand for, values of self-reliance, honesty, hard work, discipline. But then, this very hall bears testimony to the concept of looking up. When he went in 2000 together with Lady Sarojini in Bangalore, in fact, they went to visit the cyber cities, and she suggested the idea, and you will see it in the book. I don't know how she told it to him, but she suggested, why not have something similar back home? And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, 16 years after. Thousands and thousands of Mauritians are thriving, are prospering, are growing in Eben Cyber City. The ICT sector, the financial sector, it's a happening place, you will agree with me. But then, you might have great ideas, you might look up, but you need not only systems, policies and procedures to make all this possible. You need people to make it happen. And this is why in 1983, Sir Anerood teamed up. He chose a dream team in 83, and this is how he delivered together with his team the first miracle, as he calls it. I would like here to read an excerpt from his famous 2030 speech, which he did on this very podium, to demonstrate to you his will to team up with all of us, the population at large, the private sector, civil society, the public sector, and of course the ruling class. I quote, "I want my whole cabinet to team up with you, the private sector, the public service, and the population at large, to confidently embrace and own our economic agenda to achieve the second miracle we all dream of." You can see already how important teaming up is for Sir Anerood. But then, when you team up, you get all your resources, all your people together, and you embark and engage on big projects, on audacious goals, on gigantic endeavors. But many a times, you find opposition from outside. You even find resistance and inertia from inside. And this is where great leaders persevere. This is where they show more determination, and this is where they express their grit. They never give up. Because by definition, if you give up, it's a failure. And the hallmark of great leaders is to be determined and persevere. But of course, when you never give up, people are working hard, you are teaming up, after some time, you get the few successes. You get the first wins coming in, and you share those wins. You share your success, and you try to elevate your people. You build support. And this is exactly what happened under his first government, second government in fact. And this is when you lift others up. Since 1983, Sir Anerood has been doing just this, lifting others up. Our standard of living has improved, our GDP per capita has improved, and we have achieved a lot. And now he is back to lift us up even more. And while coming in the lift, I just had a few seconds talk with him. He is putting lots of time, resource, investment, and love into the economy now. This is our priority. We shouldn't lose time in watching gossip, listening gossip, reading gossip. Now it's time for productivity, for creating value, for competitiveness, for efficiency, whether it's in the public sector, private sector, civil society. This is the only way we can bring this country out of all the challenges we are facing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Mauritian leaders, if you love your country, if you believe in what Sir Anerood believes, I would ask you to please stand up. Let us give Sir Anerood a standing ovation for what he has done for our country. We wish him health, long life, and encourage him in leading Mauritius forward. Thank you.
Et dans les années 83, lorsque Sir Anerood démarrait le pays, lui démarrait son entreprise à ce moment-là. Donc vous voyez bien qu'il n'y a pas de hasard. Nous allons avoir maintenant un petit clip pour faire effet de variance, un peu de variation. Vous allez voir en image, c'est tellement mieux que des mots, en image et un peu de son, la vie de notre Premier ministre. Mesdames et messieurs, savourez.
In 1950, Anerood Jugnauth joined the Rosehill Magistrate Court as a clerk. He was encouraged to study law. His shipmate on his voyage to London was Hamid Mullah.
Anerood était un charmant compagnon et très modeste, mais aussi très décidé dans ce qu'il voulait et dans ce qu'il sait.
As a lawyer, he opened his chambers close to Shalimars Portlace. He handled different cases and acquired valuable legal experience. He maintained a high moral standard. In 1955, he was appointed chairman of Palma Village Council, which gave him a first taste of local politics. In 1957, he married Sarojini Bala at the Savoy Cinema and settled at La Caverne. Their daughter Shalini was born in 1959, followed in 1961 with the birth of their son Praveen. In 1963, Anerood Jugnauth was IFP candidate at Pamplemousse Rivière Rempart, where he defeated the veteran Onot Bijadar. In 1965, he attended the Lancaster House Constitutional Conference, where he played an important role in persuading Sukhdev Bisundayal and his IFP colleagues to support Dr. Sassu Sagar Ramgoolam in favor of independence. He supported the All Hindu Mauritius Congress in 1965 and became Minister of State for Development in the LP-CAM-IFP coalition government. Then he rose to be Minister of Labour. He did not agree with Ramgoolam's method of wasteful administration and resigned from Parliament to become a magistrate. In 1971, he joined the MMM as its president, and though he disagreed with Béranger's revolutionary rhetoric and strike action, he tried his level best to moderate the ideology of the MMM and to bring Béranger to embrace democracy, peaceful elections, rule of the law, and the Constitution of Mauritius. He led MMM to victory in the famous 1976 election. He acted as the leader of the opposition in Parliament. He continued his effort to moderate the MMM and dissociated himself completely from all its illegal, extremist and sometimes violent activities. The country went through difficult economic times, burdened by devaluation and massive unemployment.
Jugnauth Anerood, 15 960.
After the 1982 elections, Anerood Jugnauth became the Prime Minister. But trouble arose when Béranger tried to expel the PSM from government in October 1982. Béranger wanted to impose his rule through imposing a central committee above the cabinet rule. Prime Minister Jugnauth stood firmly in favor of democratic government, and Béranger insisted on his own supremacy above the legitimate Prime Minister. This resulted in the resignation of Béranger and 10 other MMM ministers. Jugnauth did not cede because he would command a small majority with the help of the Labour and PMSD members in Parliament. This led to a split in the MMM when Jugnauth left the party to form his government and the MSM in March 1983. Anerood Jugnauth went to election at the head of a new alliance made up of MSM, LP, PMSD, which won over MMM in the 1983 August election. He rebuilt the economy by bringing Hong Kong and Taiwanese investors into Mauritius. Textile factories sprouted all over the island, providing jobs for men and women. He helped to emancipate women from the kitchen drudgery. He improved the infrastructural facilities in both rural and urban areas, linked the north to the south through modern roads. Business expanded and the country was transformed with tangible signs of progress and development seen everywhere. He encouraged the decentralization of industries with diversification through new pillars such as the services sector, the financial services, offshore education hub, followed by the medical hub. Later in 2001, he created the Cyber City in Eben for the ICT development. In 1992, Mauritius became a republic. In 1995, Sir Anerood Jugnauth lost the general elections, but he came back to power in the year 2000 with an alliance with the MMM, where he was Prime Minister for 2.5 years.
I, Anerood Jugnauth, do solemnly affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Mauritius according to law.
In 2003, he resigned as Prime Minister to become the President of the Republic from 2003 to 2012.
And will, to the best of my ability, without favor or prejudice, defend the Constitution and the institutions of democracy and the rule of law, ensure that the fundamental rights are protected and the unity of the diverse Mauritian nation maintained and strengthened.
Sir Anerood Jugnauth led a new alliance LEPEP against LP MMM and won massively in December 2014.
I therefore declare elected to serve as members of the National Assembly for the state constituency of Pito and Rivière-du-Remport, Jugnauth Anerood.
He welcomed Shri Narendra Modi on the 11th of March 2015 and they signed many memorandum of understandings. The 2015 budget implemented his electoral promises. In August 2015, he laid out his Vision 2030 based on a collaborative private-public partnership platform.
Those who lament are losers. As a nation, we need to be ambitious. We need to believe in ourselves. Together, we delivered the first economic miracle against all odds. And I have no doubt that we will do it yet again.
Ce n'est pas livré en pâture, une succession uniforme de détails intimes, mais chercher par le témoignage et l'enquête à faire comprendre à qui l'on a affaire. Être biographe, donc, n'est pas une mince affaire. Essayons de mieux connaître ce biographe. Il a fêté ses 80 ans cette année. Celui qui fut jadis passionné par la culture et la philosophie indienne fera ses études universitaires en Angleterre et démarrera sa carrière professionnelle comme prof d'histoire. Se lancera rapidement dans la géopolitique et introduira la sociologie au collège. Il s'intéressera et sortira fortement influencé par la révolte estudiantine aux États-Unis et en Europe. Le voilà, conférencier, dans des forums internationaux, défendant le thème de la démocratie. Son premier livre ne tarde pas à sortir. On est en 1967. Ça s'appelle « Watch Them Go Down ». Défenseur de la sociologie marxiste, il entre dans l'arène politique et sera candidat aux élections générales de 1976 au sein du MMM. Devient conseiller municipal de Beaubassin-Rosil, se dispute avec le leader des Mauves et se joint au Rouge du Parti travailliste. Mais pas longtemps, car il ne sera pas loin d'un certain Anerood Jugnauth pour la création du MSN. Grand militant de la cause des femmes, il enfantera Femme des îles. Entre-temps, il lâche la vie active politique et devient entrepreneur, mais n'arrête pas d'écrire. Plus de 15 ouvrages. Le dernier en date, celui qu'il a hâte de nous faire découvrir maintenant. Il est marié, habite Beaubassin, a 3 enfants, dont Sanjeev, que vous connaissez bien maintenant. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir cet écrivain et orateur hors pair qu'est Anand Molan.
Private and civil society, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You know how the book took place? One day in the month of August 2009, the convener happened to take me along with him to meet Sir Anerood at State House. We had a cup of tea, we talked about a few things. Suddenly, the convener suggested that my father can write a biography on you. I looked around, I said, can I? So Anerood liked the idea, and here is your biography. That was in 2009. I set to work, but I must say, I got the help of Mr. Meda Ganpat, who was your secretary. And I contacted about 110 collaborators of Sir Anerood. Many of them are present here. I would like to pay gratitude and homage to them. I interviewed them, they sent me their notes and so on. But I'm sorry to say that out of the 110, 23 or no more. Maybe in a few years' time, the author won't be around here. But then, before they disappeared, I got the story. I got the secrets before they took it to the grave. And the secrets are here in that book. The MC talked earlier about the importance of recognition. All the works done by Sir Anerood, the gigantic contributions he has made. Can you see any monument in this country on his name? Can you see any place, any road named after him? Where is recognition? Where is our gratitude? I would say the same thing about writers and artists who work so hard. You know about that. They have contributed to the country. Just as Shakespeare has made England famous. In France you get the same thing and all over the world. But I'm sorry for members of the public sector. They have neglected those who have contributed to the country. That's my word about recognition. It is very important to recognize, because that is what we learn in culture. We say we in Mauritius. Now we talk about air corridor. Okay, we are air corridor, joining different parts of the world. But we are also the confluence of cultures, the East and the West, which is represented, which is embodied by our Prime Minister and the lady sitting by his right. Precisely because this book does what the nation hasn't done. This book is a monument to the work of Sir Anerood Jugnauth. And it will remain, I hope it will remain for succeeding generations, because it tells everything about him. It's a complete book, based on, because at the time I wrote the book, he was the president. There was, it wasn't a question of bias or political party or whatever. It tells the story as it happened. And Sir Anerood, as everybody knows, is frank, honest, and outspoken. And in that book, he has opened up his mind and his heart. You read it, and then you can question me. If you don't agree with it, you can call me to your institution, to your companies or to your school or whatever. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss. I said discuss, because this is what Sir Anerood stands for. This country, you've got two strands. One is democratic, which it stands for, and the other one, centralized government. I won't go into the details. Either you get the democratic government, or you fall on the other side, centralized government. And then your voices are stilled. Not only you, the whole country, and the whole thing is manipulated by a few people at the top. But Sir Anerood, as the convener told you, showed up at the right time. He spoke up. Even in his age, 84, he came on the public platform. Anyway, I met him before that. I suppose you will remember. The convener was with me. We went to Lancement. I told him, Sir Anerood, what about the book? What's going to happen to the book? Because I saw at the time, in March, the two giants were joining together to establish centralized government. And I said, what's going to happen to us and to the book on which I have been working for years together? He said, don't worry, when I become Prime Minister. I said, what? Becoming Prime Minister? You can fight those two giants? We're talking about 60-0. He said, don't you worry, I'm going to get hold of two junior partners. I can see their faces around here, members of the junior partners, and I will fight them. I said, yes, I know your courage. I know the story. He's bold, he's audacious, he's adventurous, he's courageous. To me, he's a warrior. He's a warrior leader. He's so audacious, I tell you. That's what he did in 63. You saw the picture there. In 63, fighting against a giant. And he emerged, as the poem tells you, as a giant killer. And 2 years back, he killed two giants. He let them low. So I knew that. He did it. He did it again. I tell you, he is our national hero. We got to recognize it. That is what the MC talked about at the beginning. It's time for recognition. We recognize your contributions, it's all right. Well, this is what the book is about. I suppose you remember the word I said. This book, I hope, will stand as a monument on Sir Anerood Jugnauth. This is the idea behind it. Because it conveys so many ideas, so many truths, so many debates. Because Sir Anerood, it stands for democracy, for our rights, for our liberties, for our freedom. And that's what he did in 83. If he did not step, if he didn't do the things that he did, I'm sorry to say, Mauritius would have gone downhill. The way Madagascar went, the way Libya went, the way those countries were. There had to be somebody to fight for freedom, somebody to fight for democracy. So he is the commander, the soldier of democracy. This is what allows you to enjoy your freedom. You debate, you discuss, you argue. Why? What is democracy? What is parliament? To me, it's a marketplace of ideas. You choose the best ideas. And that is why Mauritius has stepped forward. There's the word there. Leading Mauritius forward. And that's what he has been doing all the time. And now he's leading us where? To 2030. That's where he stood here, in this very hall. Many of you were present. I could see that in the picture. Many of you were present because he looks far ahead. He's a leader who has got a vision. He plans. He set down the philosophy. Who does the job? You, me, everybody else. Why? Because he sets down the plan, he sets down the philosophy, the ideas, and the action takes place. Why? Why does it happen? Because he chooses the proper team, what you saw there. Talented people, capable people, not like others who choose cronies, corrupt people, and the whole country goes down. He chooses the right persons. And that's why things happen. And I tell you, the Vision 2030 is shaping up. It's shaping up. You can see it. Because it is born in his mind. Sir Anerood Jugnauth, maybe 86, was celebrating today his birthday. Okay, today we are celebrating two things. Firstly, his birthday was taking place in a few hours' time. And ladies, I can't give me a laugh. I can't go into the story. If you want to know about the story of Jugnauth, the baby Jugnauth, the child Jugnauth, going to primary school, secondary school, how he came to meet the girl of his dream. That's a wonderful chapter in that book. I'm sure that he will be very pleased to read that book. How the young Jugnauth, whom you saw there, came at Vakwa, Lodja Convent, in the company of another guy. And he was looking around. The girl said, look at that girl there, playing volleyball. And what was that girl doing? Jumping here, jumping there, her long hair bobbing, and her face was flushed. And that young man stared. Said, that's going to be my wife. That's going to be my dream girl. And I can tell you, this couple is an exemplary couple. Wonderful example. Because the whole thing is mapped out in his values. The minute talked about the values. There are anyway, in that thing, because some of the values in the program, at the back of the program, some of the values. It's not time for me to talk about them. But Sir Anerood embodies those values. These values came from us from different parts of the world, particularly from India, from the Vedas, from the Upanishads, from the Gita. These values are our inheritance. And he embodies those values. The other day we had a chat in his office. We talked about those values. Convener happened to be with me. We talked about those values. And when we said about the present generation, the future generation, we were not very happy about that. Why? Because we live in a different world. A world where people are becoming more and more materialistic. You know what happened? They are more selfish. They don't care for others. But he grew up in the period of Mahatma Gandhi, of Basdev Visundayal, a period of struggle. And he knew the value of 1 cent. And he said in that book, You give him 1 cent, he makes it 5 cents, he makes it 1 rupee. And you say that 1 rupee, you can multiply it. Since child, he developed the spirit of entrepreneur. And that's why he has tried to build this country into a country of entrepreneur. This is a very important thing. Not only this, but at the time of his childhood, of mine as well, because I shared many of the problems, we both of us swam across troubled waters to get to our destination. It's not easy life we led. You read the books, you would know. This poor guy, as a child, he went to school, he went to college barefoot. Can you imagine that? He wanted to sit for a school certificate, barefoot. And he had to struggle. I tell you about these things, you think I'm telling tales, fairy tales. But this is the truth. You read the book, this is the monument I said. Well, what I was coming to talk about, I see Sir Anerood as the emancipator. There are many women around here. You will remember in 1917, 1960, 1930, 40. What happened to women? I know my own family, my own mother, myself. I accompanied my mother down the cascade to fetch wood, firewood, fetch grass. And then we carry the firewood, and then we use the pukni, and then your eyes were burned with smoke in a little kitchen. And women were like little slaves, prisoners. Who emancipated them? Who took them away from the drudgery of the kitchen? It was Sir Anerood. By the time he was doing that job, lady will remember, very often I came to them, I interviewed lady in a few issues of my magazine called Femme des Îles. I helped in the emancipation of women. But the great emancipator of Mauritius and of women is here, Sir Anerood Jugnauth, by the side of his heroine, Lady Sarojini. And if Anerood Jugnauth is the hero in leading Mauritius forward, the heroine is Sarojini. Well, I can't talk about the book because you will think that I am advertising my work. But I have to. If I don't do it, who will do it? If any of you want me to come along and talk on any chapter which interests you, you just give me a call. I come around and I will be your ambassador, Sir Anerood. I'll go around this country and talk to schools, talk to students, talk to workers, inspire them, exhort them to follow your example. If you just call me, I'll come and talk. If you don't like the talk, because I'm a bit frank and outspoken like him. And this book, many of you will have some pleasant surprises. I have to tell the truth. And I'm very happy that just opposite me is my friend Anerood. He took, when I interviewed him, he said, let us walk across the door. We talked to Bayat, Kale Bayat. It's one of those people who have disappeared. But you get the secrets of what happened in this country from that book. That's why I want you to read it. Because this is the only monument we have presenting you today, Sir Anerood, on the occasion of your 86th birthday. This is your present. Thank you.
Plus de 110 000 likes, 117 même, 117 000 likes sur YouTube. Une musique jouée dans tous les moments joyeux et festifs de la vie des Mauriciens, dans les écoles, les cérémonies, les événements officiels. Un titre qui fête ses 21 ans aujourd'hui. Extrait du spectacle Enfants des îles. Même les personnes autrement capables dansent dessus. Une musique fusion. utilisant quasiment tous les instruments de Maurice, avec tous les ingrédients qui font ce que nous sommes, la nation mauricienne. J'attire votre attention sur le fait que parmi les enfants qui vont venir danser devant vous, là, dans un petit moment, il y a certains qui sont sourds-muets. Ils n'entendent pas, mais ils sentent la vibration. La musique a cet effet, cette capacité. Mesdames et messieurs, pour le plaisir des yeux, des oreilles et du cœur, l'heure est au spectacle. Vous dites, mais je connais cette musique. On connaît tous cette musique. On ne se pose jamais la question qui l'a composée, cette musique. Il est dans la salle, ce Mauricien qui l'a composé, il y a 21 ans de cela. Je vais vous le présenter dans un petit moment, tout à l'heure, peut-être. Il ne veut pas que je dise son nom. Encore un autre Mauricien humble, encore un autre talentueux, qui ne veut pas se faire connaître, ne se met pas dans le public. Mais vous savez, la reconnaissance ne peut pas être silencieuse. Ce n'est pas moi qui le dis. Donc, j'aimerais bien que vous reconnaissiez celui-là. Et la musique qui a accompagné notre Premier ministre en entrant, c'est lui aussi qui l'a composée. Et tout à l'heure, à la fin de cette cérémonie, la musique qui sera entendue, c'est encore lui. Mais on va parler d'autre chose tout de suite. Je garde un peu le suspense. Il est avocat, il est politicien, chef d'État. Un homme qui ne craint pas de descendre d'une charge présidentielle pour reprendre un sentier plein d'embûches. Un homme de décision, qui ne marche pas ses mots, on l'a dit régulièrement. Des fois un peu trop direct, mais ne l'est-on pas quand on parle avec son cœur. Un homme d'action, un homme de réussite, un homme de vision. René Char le disait, il n'y a que deux conduites dans la vie. Ou on la rêve, ou on l'accomplit. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous prie d'accueillir comme il se doit celui qui est dans l'accomplissement, celui qui est notre Premier ministre. Mesdames et messieurs, Sir Anerood Jugnauth.
To all of you, I feel very happy to be here amongst you in such an august assembly, gathering under one roof. My cabinet colleagues, members of parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished representatives of both the private and public sectors and of the civil society. I would like to thank you all for being here with me, testifying your friendship and solidarity on this memorable evening. Your presence and collaboration mean a lot to me and my government on the occasion of the launching of my biography written by Mr. Anand Mali, somehow coinciding with my birth anniversary, which falls due tomorrow. I must say that your presence evokes pleasant memory of last August event held in this very conference hall when I delivered my economic mission statement and launched Vision 2030. As you all know, that historic event has set us working on forging a collaboration, private-public people partnership platform which is already showing tangible signs of progress and which augurs very well for the future of Mauritius. On this memorable evening, I cannot help remembering my early days when I started doing politics. It goes way back to 1963 at Rivière-du-Rempart. Since then, my focus had been to nurture bonds of friendship and close partnership with the people based on a policy of consensus building. My aim has always been to be close to the people, to listen to their grievances and their aspirations, and to serve them as their servant leader. I also meant opening the floodgates of opportunities for all my compatriots at all levels. But since then, much water has flowed under the bridge, and our country has known many ups and downs, had risen from being a colony to an independent country before witnessing an economic miracle and becoming a republic in 1992. It has known many political upheavals, as well as where I had stood up and rose to the challenges. I am aware that Anand has narrated all those events, covering my very childhood during those early days of poverty and hardship. But I must stress that those pre-war days had their compensation in that they provided me with the ethical and moral foundation, first from my father, and secondly from Professor Basdev Visundayal, and thirdly from my school. I happen to blend those priceless values which have helped me to withstand all the trials and temptations which have come my way ever since. They have shaped the principles which have guided my life and all my action. Bearing this in mind, I have always tried since my very early childhood to speak the truth and nothing but the truth. I always say what I mean in a plain and sometimes blunt manner. And thirdly, I always do what I say, which means that I deliver on my promises. It is as simple as this. I am also known to be honest and straightforward in my dealings with my close ones and my fellow citizens. And in the final analysis, the important thing is that my compatriots have trusted me again and again because they know that I am a man of word and action. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here referring to the law of karma, which holds each one of us responsible for his action, which by itself bears the fruition of its reward or punishment, either now or later. This enjoins upon us to maintain the unity of our thought, word, and deed. I must say that much depends on the purity of our thought and mind. It lies within our consciousness and should be reflected in our external utterances before they materialize into external action. Put in another way, It means that the outside action is but an extension of what lies deep inside our mind and heart. To me, the inner core is guided by the little voice within, the voice of conscience, or the little divine spark which lies within all of us. Now, I want to share with you the story of how this book has come into being. I understand from the author that bringing a book to life is like giving birth to a baby. The book has a life, a character, and a personality of its own. It may form part of literary heritage in that it makes its contribution to the sum total of human experience, knowledge, and wisdom. Thus, the idea of writing this book cropped up one afternoon during a meeting I had with both the author and his son, Sanjeev, in August 2009 at State House, Reggie. In the course of the conversation over a cup of tea, Sanjeev suggested that his father, whom I had known since the 1960s, could be persuaded to write a definitive biography of mine. I looked at Anand Malu, who appeared to be utterly taken by surprise. He did not seem to have expected such a proposal. I knew of his literary reputation, of his deep interest in politics and in history, since we had been on the same platform in the 1976 elections. I thought to myself that I could not afford to miss such a golden opportunity to get a celebrated Mauritian author to write my biography during my own lifetime, since I had a lot of exclusive things to say under my sleeves. Besides, as the President of the Republic, I was in a retrospective state of mind, which appeared to be the ideal period for writing my definitive biography, rich in events. And I knew I could thoroughly trust Anand Malu for this important project. I was glad that Anand agreed with the spot without showing the least hesitation. Since then, we immediately got started on fixing weekly meetings at State House with the interviews. I was surprised at the speed and regularity of his writing and the information he brought into the manuscript. He went to work in the archives, digging about the past, assembling notes, documentation, and illustrations. I knew that it meant a long or hard, concentrated work, which I could read on his face, which bore the stress of someone who had been working late nights. And for all this sum total of hard work and daily and nightly sacrifice, I would like to make a pause and say, thank you very much, Anand. But that is not the full story. He contacted a large number of my former collaborators, gathered a huge mass of exclusive information, which he put over to me. I verified the authority and veracity of the information obtained before the author could insert them in the relevant chapters of the manuscript. Slowly, the story emerged. I must say that I was myself surprised at his findings and the enthusiasm and dedication he showed during the period of research and writing, which he brought over for my perusal in huge files. He depicted my life, the friends and alliances I had made and unmade, the many ups and downs in my political career. In fact, he covered every important aspect of my life and the evolution of Mauritius in my lifetime. By mid-2011, the book was ready for publication. I told him to wait for the right moment for its release. Events had taken a different turn when I resigned from the presidency in March 2012. Since then, we had met a number of times until towards April 2014. I told him to wait until I took over as Prime Minister after the next elections. I remember his great surprise when he told me that the Labour Party and MMM were going into alliance and that they were likely to sweep the polls. I told him to wait, as I was going to find two junior partners to fight the election, and shared my optimism that we would be winning. Thus, he followed events and completed the book by adding a final chapter covering the latter part, 2012 to 2016. Both father and son kept in touch with me at the Prime Minister's office since end 2014 to 2015. There was a lapse of time when I did not hear about the book publication. So, during New Year 2016, when they met me at my residence, I asked Anand rather bluntly, "Where is my book?" to which he answered with some confidence and pride that it would be released as a souvenir on my next birthday. That's how we are all gathered here this evening, about to launch the book on the appointed day. I would like to state that I read all the chapters and that I had verified the information. I was thoroughly satisfied that it is an excellent book which offers a golden mine of information on our country. It tells a lot of truth, just as I like it, plainly and bluntly, and in a straightforward manner that will please every one of you who likes honesty, truthfulness in narrating the great adventure of this country as it evolved under my leadership. Let me also add my immense pleasure at the quality of the organization and the resources pooled by the convener through his hard work, careful planning, and able leadership. In this respect, I would like to put in a word of appreciation to all the promoters who have kindly lent their support to the organizers in both getting the book published and in its launching ceremony on such an unprecedented scale and majesty. I must add that in going over this delightful narrative, I find that Mr. Anand Mandu has reconstructed a portrait of the past which should remind the young generations of the contribution and heritage of their forefathers. I am proud to say that all those great values here delineated, like hard work, sacrifice, self-discipline, self-reliance, self-responsibility, serve the purpose of creating one's own destiny by one's own effort. I must say that the whole exercise, starting with setting one's goal and long-term objective and working relentlessly towards its accomplishment, has produced new generations of great achievers. Thus, when we look around us at the distinguished audience present here, one cannot help saying that we are indeed a nation of achievers. But there, I must add that a country needs dedicated and visionary leaders to raise the level of the people's aspirations and achievements as skillfully depicted in this biography. And as you go through the exciting pages of this well-written and highly provocative book, you will be astounded to learn the way this country would have gone down into the precipice in the grips of relentless dictators if I had not stood up to fight for the preservation of our individual liberties, our democracy, our constitution, and our independent institutions and our economy. To me, in unveiling the truth, the whole truth has happened in our lives, I find that this biography deserves its rightful place in history. As such, it should be widely read, commented upon, debated, discussed, and studied by one and all. After all, this book is a frank statement about us all. It doesn't deal with faraway isolated events cut off from our lives. It covers wide stretches of Mauritian life in its dynamic relationship with other countries. It takes us into the secret caverns of the past, revealing unheard of events which may chill your bones. The historical canvas is painted all over with the blood, tears, and sweat of our forebears, their struggles, sacrifices, courage, and endurance in the making of this independent country. This book also pays glowing tribute to the contributions made by all the inhabitants of this country in the making of a brighter tomorrow for succeeding generations. It lays out the various historical steps taken by the brave people of Mauritius in their march to freedom, development, and modernity. It unfolds a colorful and variegated picture of our cultural and social landscape. It traces the different moods and movements of a fast developing country. Somehow, it resembles the changing fortunes that have marked our growth spurts in the process of leading Mauritius forward on its development path. With these words, I would like to reiterate my appreciation to all those of you who have contributed in one way or another in the realization of this important literary and historical project, which I commend to you all. And I thank you for your kind attention.
Jusqu'à encourager l'agriculture biologique pour 50% de notre production agricole est une décision qui mérite reconnaissance. Je vois notre ministre de l'agro-industrie juste à côté là, qui s'assoit encore lui aussi derrière. Vous voyez beaucoup de personnes comme ça. Et je tiens à le saluer pour cette décision extraordinaire pour notre pays. Le comité organisateur a donc souhaité reconnaître une organisation mauricienne qui a fait son cheval de bataille, la promotion de la production agricole bio certifiée. Aujourd'hui, 16 sites sont certifiés par Ecoserv selon les normes européennes pour la production bio à Maurice. Ces 16 sites représentent environ 6 hectares de production agricole certifiée bio. Cette organisation, c'est la Fondation Ressources et Nature, Forena. Forena offre du conseil, de la formation, de l'expertise et la certification bio à tous ceux intéressés. Le comité organisateur a souhaité donc reconnaître Forena pour ce travail acharné pour le bio en leur faisant un don financier qui les aidera à aller encore plus loin. Pour recevoir ce don, je suis heureux d'appeler sur scène la représentante de Forena, Madame Anjena Sioratan. Et pour remettre le chèque, j'ai l'honneur de faire appel à celle qui est derrière notre Premier ministre, toujours. Je suis heureux, Madame Lady Sir Anerood Jugnauth, si vous voulez bien nous faire l'honneur de monter sur scène pour offrir ce chèque à la représentante de Forena. Se tient dans sa capacité à donner. Je pense que Sir Anerood a la capacité à donner, même et surtout à donner de soi. Cette affirmation ne saurait être considérée valide que par 3 critères. La vérification par l'expérience directe, que je ne peux pas vous faire vivre maintenant là. La déduction irréfutable. J'aurais pu faire un petit calcul et utiliser une série de formules pour vous le démontrer, mais je ne pourrai pas le faire maintenant. Et en 3e lieu, le témoignage digne de confiance. Mais en matière de témoignage, une seule voix ne suffit. Alors, nous avons choisi 12 pour vous convaincre. Chers amis, je vous invite à juger de la valeur de cet homme, de par les témoignages que voici. Ce clip, ce film a été réalisé par Vicky Mitton Somra et produit par la MFDC. Mesdames et messieurs, témoignage.
Tout le monde connaît Sir Anerood Jugnauth, surtout comme un Premier ministre pendant une assez longue période. Et ce qui frappe encore une fois, c'est sa ponctualité, jamais en retard. Et que quand il vient, il a toujours un agenda, il discute votre papier, tout ça. Ce qui m'a apprécié encore une fois avec lui, c'est sa franchise, sa façon de faire qui est très directe. Et que moi aussi, au niveau de la personne, je trouvais qu'il y a une mémoire de nos institutions. Parce que quand on cause avec ça, on réalise que ce n'est pas seulement un individu qu'on peut causer, on peut vraiment traiter avec une de votre institution, ce pays-là. Et que c'est une personnalité qui m'a apprécié et aussi, au travers de ce pragmatisme, ce dynamisme, nous pourrons peut-être un nouveau souffle à nos économies qui demande précisément un très bon leadership en ce moment.
Et à l'époque, il y avait un contrôle d'échange, donc les Mauriciens n'étaient pas autorisés à investir. Donc le Premier ministre tout de suite a dit que c'était une bonne chose, et même contre l'avis de certains ministres de l'époque, il a donné son accord pour cet investissement qui a été un investissement déterminant dans le succès économique, je pense, de l'île Maurice. Il a une grosse capacité d'écoute. Et ce sont des moments donc importants pour un chef d'entreprise de se savoir écouté par le Premier ministre de l'île Maurice. Même si on sait que le Premier ministre ne parle pas beaucoup, mais quand il parle, c'est pour dire des choses directes et sensées. Et aujourd'hui, en tant que responsable d'un groupe et aussi en tant que président de Business Mauritius, je dois dire que j'ai l'occasion de le rencontrer et je le fais à chaque fois avec beaucoup de plaisir. Il a toujours montré une vision claire de l'économie. Il a toujours passé, je pense, le pays avant ses intérêts personnels. C'est un aspect important. Je crois que de cette façon-là, il a quand même été le père du développement économique de l'île Maurice, de savoir prendre des décisions, de savoir s'entourer. Et aussi de montrer un certain courage par sa décision de revenir aux affaires du pays malgré son âge. Je crois que c'est un signe quand même de grande valeur chez Sir Anerood Jugnauth.
Quand il est député, il est un député de proximité. Il est à l'écoute de tout le monde qui est dans le droit de civilisation service, comment il y a un problème de l'eau. Il sait résoudre tout ce problème-là. Il ne peut pas se guetter si ça a un travail pour lui ou il n'y a pas un travail pour lui. Il y a des gens qui disent écoute, tout le monde dans le numéro 7, ce qui fait que si vous venez droit. Mais il vient sur le carré spécial, c'est carré au riz, salade et poulet. Ça, c'est une qualité très spéciale quand il y a l'écouter à la bande du monde. Du monde là, on ne pas payer, écoute lui, mais après, il y a l'écoute, il finit de développer son travail, c'est ce qu'il dit. Quand Sir Anerood est Premier ministre, il y a un grand visionnaire, il n'y a pas de quoi c'est là. Il y a pour 30 ans, 15 ans avant, après, qui peut venir, qui développe le travail dans le pays là.
May I begin by saying that I'm indeed grateful for having been given the opportunity of saying a few words, and also on the occasion of the launching of his biography written by Mr. Anand Balu. If I accept this appointment, you will let me do my work on my own without interference. And he looked at me, he said, of course, why should I want to interfere if you're going to do your job well? And I must say, during my term of office, he never interfered in what I had to do. I think we are fortunate to have a Prime Minister who brings confidence to the country, to the economic operators. He, as I said, he has the ability to display leadership, to be diligent in decision taking, and to be fair to people. And he has zero tolerance on matters of law and order. And I think the name of the book is very important, Leading the Way Forward. I am sure he will do his best to lead the country forward.
C'est là de la grève, comme vers Sir Anerood me demandait où c'est un professeur fait la grève de la fin, etc. Sa réponse, c'est vraiment extraordinaire, il dit comme ça. You should learn to swim in troubled waters. Imaginez, moi, j'ai 31 ans, ministre de l'Éducation, avec tout ce challenge qui est là, mais c'est une leçon qui reste tout le temps dans mon avis. Bon, puis dire que c'est une personne qui est architecte même le développement économique d'Amaurice. Et il a toujours une conviction pour ce pays et il a toujours à cœur l'intérêt du développement de l'île Maurice. Et c'est une personne disciplinée, qui fait travail, mais aussi c'est un homme de cœur. On connaît aussi dans un moment un peu plus personnel, spirituel, comme vous dire. Sa voyage que tu fais avec lui, moi, M. Kotsai Baba, en Inde, quand il fait son graduation ceremony en 93, c'est un autre moment très fort. Et quand on a fait un pèlerinage ensemble à Lourdes, et mon père dire ça parce qu'il est un homme profondément spirituel et profondément humain. Et donc ça, il marque moi dans mon carrière et ça marque moi en termes de formation que je vais gagner pour le service public.
Qu'on apprécie la grande personnalité de Sir Anerood Jugnauth, c'est qu'il frappe moi tout le temps, que ce soit dans les bons moments ou dans les mauvais moments. Sir Anerood Jugnauth, c'est quelqu'un de très simple. Eli et Lady Sir Anerood Jugnauth, qui souvent accompagnent dans ma mission, et mon fil me considérer que Sir Anerood Jugnauth, c'est un des Mauriciens les plus illustres que le pays peut produire. Anerood Jugnauth, tu connais des années 80, et Anerood Jugnauth aujourd'hui, c'est la même personne, avec la même simplicité, la même capacité de comprendre et d'écouter. Et aussi, on pensait qu'il y a là une humilité qui est extraordinaire pour quelqu'un qui occupe autant de hautes fonctions dans le pays.
Il finit au cours de ce parcours politique acquérir un l'épaisseur, une stature remarquable. Quand on fait une côtoyer, c'est ça même qui fait impressionner moi plus. Un homme de vision, un homme de décision, un homme qui prend ses décisions, qui amène sur l'équipe, sur troupe, comment un vrai leader les amener avec sa forte personnalité qu'il y a. Mais aussi, il y a un petit monde très très ouvert, très très attentif, très très accessible comme Premier ministre. Il y a un petit monde qui donne l'espace sur un collaborateur, qu'on valorise un petit monde qui est autour de lui. Sir Anerood Jugnauth, qui est un adversaire aussi, qui est un adversaire, et vous pensez qu'il est toujours comme ça, un adversaire très coriace, très rude, très dur, qui ne pas faire cadeau sur un adversaire.
Pour rappeler le soutien et l'intérêt qu'il a porté pour nationaliser les pauvres, créer comme Global Living Corporation. Et j'ai fait ce travail-là ensemble avec naturellement les autres ministres aussi. Et bon, toujours pour Anerood, qu'il est assez intelligent pour lui connaître. Il ne peut pas gouverner un pays parce qu'il n'est pas sur la tête. En prenant conseil, en examinant le problème et en faisant appel à tout le monde qui a la connaissance du problème pour trouver une solution d'une façon dans une équipe. Diriger un pays n'est pas facile. Le premier tour de République, c'est Anerood. Mais moi, je me trouvais on the whole, quand on fait une balance globale, en Anerood, sur capacité pour prendre des décisions, même décisions qui parfois rendent impopulaires. Vous trouvez, on the whole, pas quand il est 100%, tout correct, mais vous trouvez qu'il agit de bonne foi. Il n'est pas loin, et il comprend ce qui est possible, ce qui n'est pas possible. Il y a un Premier ministre réaliste, qui n'est pas besoin d'embêter du monde, et surtout, il n'est pas manipulé les Maurice. Il vient dire ce qu'il pense. Et ça, il prend le risque dans le risque en cause de la vérité, dans la politique. Et ça, pour moi, Anerood, ce politique, cette façon qu'il agit comme Premier ministre, il est Maurice.
Il gère la situation, même quand il est dans la défaite ou la victoire. C'est une personne très humaine, qui est bien sensible à la souffrance des autres, qui peut écouter et qui est très compréhensible, bien réfléchi, une personne bien simple et pas content d'annexer. Sir Anerood, C'est une personne qui est très attachée à la valeur familiale. Mon film témoigne à l'entente qu'il y a entre lui et Lady Sarojini. Et même avec les autres membres de la famille Jugnauth. C'est une personne très humble, très simple. Ce qui frappe moi encore Sir Anerood Jugnauth, c'est son mémoire solide. Et il y a une facette qui du monde pas connaît. C'est l'amitié. Et du monde quand il donne sur l'amitié, il nous fait confiance.
Je me rappelle dans les années 80, un jour, il y avait Sir Anerood allait souvent dans les usines pour aller aux ouvriers, pour aller au personnel ouvrier. Et il y avait une grève une fois, et les gens trouvaient, justement, c'était le temps où, comme si le profit était un péché, ça. Comme si le profit n'était pas bon. Alors, je me rappelle, il avait été dans une usine, et il avait dit, écoutez, comment vous voulez, nous avons un petit gâteau comme ça là. Si nous donnons un bout de sacan, nous pouvons prendre l'autre, nous donnons un bout de sacan. Sacan, pas même une bousse, pas même une boussée. Tandis que là, si nous tout marions piqué, nous faisons le développement, il y a là, dans le gâteau là, il n'a pas gros, sacan peut être un bon trans là. Alors je crois que tout ça c'était un pragmatisme qui caractérise donc Sir Anerood. Je pense que Sir Anerood a le caractère et la force à pouvoir, malgré son âge qui est assez extraordinaire, de voir à quel point il est encore dynamique et clairvoyant. Moi je pense qu'on est sur la bonne voie. Moi j'aime bien cette expression, il Maurice, un peu formidable, parce que c'est vrai, moi c'est ce que je ressens. Si depuis des années on travaille pour ça, on travaille avec comme ça, c'est parce qu'on croit dans l'île Maurice. Et bien, il faut un leadership fort, il faut le respect et il faut la confiance.
Sir Anerood has been a historic figure in Mauritius. He has been active and engaged in politics for over half a century. His pragmatic vision, willpower and determination and solid achievements towards making Mauritius a prosperous country is acknowledged by one and all. Through hard work, humility and keeping in touch with all the strata of society of Mauritius, he has once again earned the respect of the electorate to be voted Prime Minister of Mauritius after having achieved being the President of the Republic of Mauritius. However, he has always maintained the wisdom of humility. I wish him a long and healthy and happy life to continue to serve Mauritius.
I had the opportunity to work closely with Sir Anerood over the past 4 decades. What strikes me above everything is his power to listen. It is not given to everybody to listen and then make the appropriate decision. Be it at the AU or at the United Nations or in the Commonwealth, Sir Anerood is and will remain a respected leader, and I can assure you that we as the senior diplomats at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are proud of Sir Anerood because he has the capacity to come up with solutions and he is a respected leader.
On a intégré le MSM en 1996 et depuis ce jour, on connaît Sir Anerood Jugnauth comme un leader juste, ferme et un leader qui reconnaît de compétences. Sir Anerood Jugnauth, à Madame Michel, quand on est en compétence, quand on est capable de faire des efforts, il reconnaît et bien sûr, il donne au Dieu. Pour moi, il reste un leader ferme qui compte trancher quand il a tranché, qui ne jamais pas pour laisser influencer par qui que ce soit. Sir Anerood Jugnauth est resté un tout pour les Maurice. C'est un Premier ministre qui tout le monde sire pour amener le pays à bon port.
Quand nous cause Premier ministre, Sir Anerood Jugnauth, il y a un homme entier. Sir Anerood, il connaît toutes les difficultés de la vie. Ils vivent ça. Hein? Malheureusement, ils ont envie de faire de Maurice un état de droit. Et ils ont envie de faire de Maurice une situation que toi dirais, nous avons un problème dans Maurice et nous sommes capables de progresser. Sir Anerood Jugnauth faire confiance à Indimoun, total.
En 2008, en tant que gouverneur district du Rotary International et au nom du président du Rotary, je lui ai remis l'insigne de Paul Fellow, du nom de notre fondateur du Rotary, en témoignage de l'action qu'il avait menée, de l'énorme tâche qu'il a entreprise pour faire de l'île Maurice un pays moderne, un pays où il a transformé l'économie, transformé la politique, transformé le social. Et nous avons donc tenu à reconnaître cela. Ce soir, associé Lady Sarojini, qui a toujours été auprès des organisations comme la nôtre, les ONG, mais plus particulièrement le Rotary Club de Port-Louis, où je me souviens des nombreuses journées qu'elle me consacrait en tant que membre du jury des concours Fleury-Maurice ou les métiers d'art, où on visitait les villages, les artisans, etc. Et Lady Jugnauth était toujours présente. Pour nous, ça a été une très grande dame, et je veux témoigner de cela aujourd'hui. Je voudrais souhaiter à Sir Anerood un très heureux anniversaire, et surtout lui souhaiter beaucoup de courage et bonne continuation. L'île Maurice a besoin de lui.
Nous ont convaincus que la valeur d'un homme se tient dans sa capacité à donner. Et celui que nous avons avec nous est bien celui qui sait donner. L'organisation d'un tel événement requiert du leadership, des ressources, de la bonne volonté et surtout des gens passionnés. Je suis certain que vous pourrez tous m'aider à leur témoigner notre reconnaissance de par vos applaudissements lorsque je donnerai leur nom. Pas tous, parce qu'il y a eu beaucoup. Sanjeev a fait beaucoup de travail. Il n'a pas arrêté. Je crois qu'on a la moitié de Maurice qui a aidé. Et l'autre moitié a pensé fortement. J'aimerais qu'on remercie le...
to you.